Welcome. Hello, MACC members. I'm Laurel Hansen, MACC's Program and Member Engagement Manager. Welcome to Ask MACC Workforce Edition, brought to you by the Metropolitan Alliance of Connected Communities and our Human Resources team. We know our network is faced with ongoing and incredible challenges when it comes to workforce, and it's how we provide our valuable services to the community. Our workforce challenges can create difficult hurdles for our organizations to operate sustainably. There can be complex and seemingly insurmountable barriers, but luckily, we have incredible HR expertise at MACC. And as a part of our network, you have access to that HR expertise through our convenings and working with so many of you in the MACC network. During this brief conversation, I'm joined today by Diane Seep. She is the Senior Human Resources Consultant at MACC, and Diane brings her expertise to MACC and our members to provide the HR guidance they need to be successful. So thank you for joining me, Diane.
Thanks for having me, Laurel.
Yeah. So this is our second conversation, and we've been talking about skill building, and we've talked about changes in the workplace and the strategy of building employee skills. Organizations are seeking to improve retention and engagement, but in order to succeed, an organization needs managers who are comfortable with and prepared to lead in new and different ways. So there's another challenge, and I'm really excited to talk to you about this today. So let's jump right in, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Diane, do you see a need for skill building in managers in order to support their leadership responsibilities? Kind of what are the symptoms of managers who are underprepared to lead in today's workforce?
Yes, there's definitely a need for skill building in managers, and it's critical that they're given the tools to help them succeed. I think how I'd like to talk about this is sharing some situations that I think are important to highlight kind of before answering the second half of your question.
Yeah, sounds great.
So unfortunately, some things we've seen is managers who are underprepared because they actually never wanted to be managers in the first place. They were promoted from roles where they had succeeded at being, really strong individual contributors. And they may have enjoyed being part of a team of equals, but now may be really uncomfortable and really under-equipped for leading people who they had been friends with as peers, in their department.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that happens because people leave and you need someone to fill that role really quickly. Other times it could be that we're just not having conversations with people about what their interests and career paths are, and that's really not a direction that they want to go. Something else that we've seen is managers being promoted because they were strong individual contributors as well. And we think that they would be, really great at managing a team. Maybe we've seen them demonstrate some leadership skills. So we put them in that position, but then they're really not given training and development needed to really, fulfill that responsibility. I think oftentimes it's assumed by higher level leadership that managers should know what to do in regards to personnel, but there's so much involved with having direct reports. So that kind of all leads into your other question about, symptoms of managers who are underprepared. I think that can, it's stressful, right? People get really overwhelmed. It creates anxiety and frustration and even resentment. And these things, can lead to changes in behavior, which, is a reduction in productivity and engagement. And that's really going to trickle down and impact the employees they supervise as well.
Yeah, you can't make assumptions about people. Just you can't assume that they're just ready, and it does take some skill building to prepare managers to do their best work. Are there any other ways that you see managers struggling with their roles in today's workforce? Because we know the environment has been changing.
Yes. I think with any role, we want and sometimes expect people to be able to really deep dive into all the expectations right away. And we know that supervising employees is really a whole other level of responsibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes new managers get stuck having to address problems that the manager before them didn't handle, and they may not be prepared or have the skills to address performance concerns or conflicts within the team. And that can be a big struggle. I also think part of the problem is we are all so busy, right? I mean, there's so many deadlines and projects and program responsibilities to fulfill. So we really have to be intentional about making time to connect with our staff. And managers really need to have a high level of self-awareness. That emotional intelligence is key. They really need to build trust with their team, and they need to really be better communicators. And so with all of that, I think we really need to be creating room for people to grow. We need to be providing peer-to-peer support for managers and have an outline development plan to help them succeed and be able to, work.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation, a good idea for addressing this. And I hear what you said. A lot of what you shared really speaks to the type of culture that your organization is building on. And I know we've had some other HR interviews where we really dive deep into culture. So it all ties together.
It does.
I'm wondering. So we talked about the problem. You started to talk about, or the challenge. Let me call it a challenge. You started to talk about some tools, but really, what are some other ways, some additional ways that an organization can support investing in manager skill building? Because as you've laid it out, it sounds really critical.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that we can support that. There's on the job training. I think mentoring is a really big one. Like, could there be a manager, whether it's peer to peer or even a higher level leader, that helps mentor that individual? Coaching is really critical. Just like, how do you deal with XYZ, situations? Really being there along the path with them as those things arise. Providing feedback is really critical as well, and then I'd also say, like, delegating tasks that help employees develop those skills.
Oh, sure. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, like, move those things off your plate and start to, be able to give them things that they can start learning. I'd say another thing is, we need to really be encouraging managers too to make time to attend training sessions to support their growth.
Yeah.
There's all the things that I mentioned are all really great things, but there's so many really affordable and really great supervisor training sessions that are available too in all different, kind of areas of topics around managing a team or just your own personal development. So I think just really creating a time and space for that is important, and supporting them and needing to do that, because it's really about, an ongoing process of discovery and learning.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get stuck in the work, right? Because we are so busy, but it's really essential that we invest time and resources in developing managers. Another thing that I've seen,
the work will always be there, right?
Yes.
If we don't invest in the long term, we won't have the sustainability of our people.
Exactly. Yes. Very good point. And I've seen opportunities where new managers are promoted into, like, an interim manager role, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So they move into a role intermittently for like 6 months to kind of give it a trial run in managing a program and a team.
Mm-hmm.
That allows, like, space to learn and practice, demonstrate their leadership skills, and that has been successful.
So we've talked about, what the challenges are, and we've talked about some of the ways that organizations can support manager skill building. What does it look like? Like, what's different in organizations that you've seen when a manager is supported and there has been an investment in building their skills? Like, what is the difference for that organization?
Yeah, I think, leadership development, right? It helps create a positive culture and work environment, and it helps close skill gaps. You have higher levels of engagement and motivation. There's improved performance. You're more likely to retain your high performing employees. And, typically, great managers bring in great employees. So,
Right.
Yep.
Well said. I always feel like too, you do build skills as well by modeling what you experience. So for maybe upper senior managers to really reflect on their own skill building, so because they know they're mentoring and helping to develop others in the organization. So it's really sort of global within the whole team.
It is.
Yeah. You work a lot with MACC members. You work extensively with MACC members, exclusively with MACC members. So you probably have seen this in action. Are there any examples you can share where you've seen progress, or you've seen an organization move forward on this path where they're building their management skills? Like what changed for them, and how did that really make a difference in the culture of that organization?
Yeah, I think an example that I'd like to share is one of my members there's an administrative manager that has a small admin team. And the manager noticed that one of their recent new hires, was really doing an excellent job, not only with the work, but also with other kind of leadership qualities that they were noticing, as far as like really a high level of willingness to learn and asking questions, kind of this ability to quickly absorb and apply information, really responsible, just a really great communicator, etc. And through conversation and quarterly goal planning, they created together a pathway for this individual to become the administrative supervisor. And one of the first steps was moving kind of like into a lead position, so that this individual could really start essentially handling and delegating like the workflow and understanding team dynamics. And then they were brought into the process of hiring new admin staff so that they could learn what that looks like. So I think that's a really great example of taking development steps to learn and grow, and to see if that's a good fit, right? Because you're collaborating, you're helping kind of create those stepping stones to get to the level where you're trying to go. And I think you have to figure out, what to look for in your future leaders and recognize people's talents. We need to be having conversations, and creating a development path is really critical. And I think once they're there, then we have to step out of the way, right, to really let them lead. But be there for continued support and guidance, because as I mentioned earlier, I think it's really an ongoing process of discovery and learning.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really an excellent example of, I think, a culture of learning and an opportunity for people to move forward and in a supported environment. So I appreciate you sharing that. Well, that's all the time that we have now for this discussion. It's been really interesting, and I appreciate your time and insights, Diane. I look forward to our next conversation. MACC members, you're encouraged to visit the MACC website and our Ask MACC page for additional resources. You'll find a variety of information and links to helpful content, including more in this series of recorded HR interviews. So keep in touch. We're here to support you and our network of MACC members. Thank you. Have a great day and be well. Goodbye.